Now, David, you got the word right, pain points, right? And that's really how we all envision businesses. And I often tell people, as a mentor for Go Negosyo, usually the first question that many entrepreneurs ask us when we're mentoring, they ask me, for example, "Sir, anong magandang negosyong itayo? What is a good business to put up?" And when they ask me that, that is usually followed up by another question where they say, "Ay, sir, magaling, malakas ka ngayon yung negosyo ng milk tea. Yung kapitbahay ko, pwede ko bang gayahin yung negosyo yan? Can I copy that business?" Maybe the question to ask yourself is not what is a good business to put up, but rather to ask yourself the question, which we know is the same question that many tech startups get asked when they are approached by venture capitalists or when they make a pitch to investors. The first question that they ask them, the investors will ask them is that, what pain point are you trying to solve, right? And we ask us, if for example, if you came to me and asked me, "Okay, sir, anong magandang negosyong itayo na or franchise kunin?" Kukuha ko ng milk tea franchise. Kung punong-puno ng milk tea franchise na yung lugar ninyo, bakit ka pa kukuha ng milk tea franchise, di ba? But what if you did a good observation of your area and you found out that, okay, there are so many milk tea franchises, but what we're lacking is, for example, maybe an LPG franchise. Why LPG? Because right now everybody's cooking at home, right? So, and then they all need LPG more than ever. So instead of getting a fancy looking franchise of a milk tea, maybe if you get a very simple looking but LPG franchise, it might be more lucrative and sustainable for you because you're solving a problem in your community. So that's the entrepreneurial mindset. Basically, you're solving a pain point. And it doesn't matter. And I often tell people that the difference between, for entrepreneurs is this one. Whether times are good or whether times are bad, David, we don't see, there's no value judgment to us. At times can be good or times can be bad. What we are focused on is what is the opportunity, whether times are good or whether times are bad. So for example, if I wear my entrepreneurial lens, right, that's my lens of opportunity. For example, right now, there is a pandemic, so there's social distancing, there is GCQ, there's a disruption in the supply chain. It's a problem. But do I look at it as a problem or do I see it through my lens of opportunity? With social distancing, what's the opportunity in business here? When there is GCQ, what is the opportunity in business here? When there is a supply chain problem, what is the opportunity in business here? So that's how I look at business, right? Through an entrepreneurial mindset where you solve pain points. What was the original pain point when we put up Mercato Central? My original pain point was that, I was a media, I'm in the media, and as media, I often got sent to different countries to write about them. And when tour organizers would bring us to these other countries, the first place that the tour organizers would bring us to was more often than not to the food markets, particularly in Asia, the night food markets, right? So to Singapore, in Taiwan, there's Shilin. In Singapore, there's Lau Pa Sat, diba? In Thailand, there's Chatuchak. And I was wondering, it was an irritation for me, irritation which led to an inspiration. Sabi ko, why are there so many of these food markets in these neighboring Asian countries? We sort of have the similar lifestyle, similar demographics. Mm-hmm. But here in the Philippines, what makes it even more a more promising idea is that we are aflush with BPO employees at night, right? At 11 p.m. is their lunch time. And they might have a budget of 120, 150 pesos for lunch. What would they rather eat? Would they rather eat convenience store fried chicken or would they rather eat a fresh, authentic, home-cooked meal, right? So that became our first inspiration. Our inspiration really was a pain point. The pain point was to see how could we address the needs of our late night eaters here in the Philippines. But more than that, when we took the inspiration from a business model that was being used in another country, which were the Asian countries. So our first business model was the night food market. That's the first model. Then you have to pivot again. When did we realize that we needed to pivot the business model? In about 2016, 2017, came the emergence of all these different food parks. In fact, during the time, there was an explosion of food parks, almost 100 across the country. And these food parks leveraged on a pain point people had with Mercato. What is the pain point with Mercato? We like the sort of variety and atmosphere which Mercato brings, but it's so far from me, it's only in one location. Why don't I replicate what Mercato does in my place, right? So people started opening up food parks in their own places. Diba? So it's like 1 versus 100. What can I do? How could I still survive with all these food parks opening up all over the place? So we had to re-examine our business model and realize what did people like about us and why do people still go to us. And we realized that the reason that people go to us was that they liked us for our good curation. We selected people very, very well to join the market. Number two, the vendors also liked us because it was sort of like a fast track way for them to be known, because if we curated very well, people want to go to us because the food is good, and then they get popular as a result of the market. They don't get popular in other places, but they get popular here. And they get good value for money when they come to our place. They get good value for money for the food. So we realized that people are really going to us to sort of learn, to fast track, to get a good reputation. And so the second pivot we realized is that we had to examine, what were we? Were we just a food market? No, we realized that the business model that we had to do was we were really a small food business incubator. And the concept of an incubator did not really, because I do a show called Bright Ideas on Bloomberg, on One News right now, if you look at the tech industry, which is the industry that I was looking at, that many apps start off life in an incubator, like a tech incubator, right? Because sometimes you have a good idea, but you're not a programmer, you're not a software developer person, but you have a good idea because it's a pain point that you're trying to solve. So you have an app in mind, but you need help. Can somebody help you with finance? Can somebody help you with operations? Can somebody help you with software development, with financing, with HR? Then you go to an incubator. And that's what I said Mercato had to evolve into. From an outdoor food market, our better business model would be to become a small food business incubator. And in that incubator, it's like when you join, you can come in from ideation all the way to execution, all the way to scale. So we sort of complete the picture of a business model and get that innovation from another industry. So at the start, we created a Mercato Academy, which pre-pandemic was offline. During pandemic is now, we're trying to recreate it online, where we can teach people who want to become food vendors to join the market, right? To learn first, and then they can join the market. And then when they join the market right now, the model is we have an offline market which they can join, and our current offline markets are safe, socially distanced, and had to pass through IATF protocols. So that's already the pivot that we had to make during this crisis. From an offline model we shut down, but we had to pivot again and create an offline, an offline model again that worked during the crisis. And we have to create online models right now. That's why we have the app, so that we can also help vendors scale up through the app, right? And then aside from the app, we're also developing cloud kitchens. So now the small food vendor, from ideation, from training the Mercato Academy, from being in the offline market, can go into our cloud kitchen and distribute their products through there. So it's a complete scale from ideation up to execution. So it evolved from a outdoor food market to a small food business to a food business incubator. And from a food business incubator, it really became a model now, a complete sort of e-commerce model, where we have to integrate e-commerce models there and cloud kitchen models to be a full small food business incubator.